All right, we are now going to learn the daf for Sunday. Yud Aleph Iyar. The daf is going to be daf Chavav. Yisrael can take tomorrow. We left off on last time daf Chafei Amud Beis. We are 3 lines from the bottom of the Amud, and we finished off with a quote from Rav Nachman in the name of Rabba Baravua, who says that an islandess, according to everyone, does not drink the Sotah waters, and she does not get her ksuba money. Why? Because the islandess is specifically excluded in Parsha Sotah, because Parsha Sotah said in Pasuk Chav Ches that if the woman is innocent, then she's going to go out of the Beis Hamikdash, Niksa, she's going to be free, V'nizra Zara, and she'll be able to conceive and have children. And an islandess is not able to conceive. An islandess, we mentioned before, we spoke about before, an islandess is someone, an islandess means literally a female ram. A ram is a male. So it means a woman who did not develop a lot of the female characteristics, and instead she developed a lot of male characteristics. So an islandess is not able to conceive, and therefore the pasuk v'niksa v'nizra zara, according to Rav Nachman, excludes the islandess. Now the Gemara asks, Meisvei, 3 lines from the bottom of Chafei Beis, is that really true? It's not true. I'm going to bring you a long brisa now that we're going to prove that an islandess does drink the Sotah waters. Someone who warns his arusa, his betrothed, his fiance, shemeres yavam shaloi, or his shemeres yavam, which means that his brother had died without any children, and now he has to marry the wife. Before he marries the wife, she's a shemeres yavam. They have the status of partially married because she's not able to marry anyone else. And if he warns them, much like shinasa nistira, if before they did nisuin, before the second stage of marriage, before they started living together, she secluded herself with the guy she said not to seclude herself with. So so she can't drink the Sotah waters. Why? Because the guy is not her husband yet. They still didn't do the second stage of marriage. But she also loses her ksuba because the warning was effective. Turning to the chavav, if you have a woman who got divorced or her husband died, and she was either pregnant or she was nursing for the first 24 months after the baby was born. So midrabanan, they're not supposed to get married because it's a danger to the child if the woman will conceive and get pregnant again. The child is not, the breast milk is going to get depleted and the child is not going to have what to eat. So midrabanan, they're not supposed to get married. So if they did get married, so again, they don't, she can't drink the Sotah waters, and she doesn't get her ksuba either because she loses her ksuba from the warning. However, she can't drink the Sotah waters because it's not a kosher marriage. Divrei Rav Meir, that's Rav Meir's opinion. We said before that the Chachamim argued with it. Rav Meir, because Rav Meir used to say that a man should not marry someone who was impregnated or is nursing a child from a different husband. And if he did marry her, Yotzi, he has to divorce her, and he's never allowed to remarry her. And this is all obviously midrabanan. I'm saying no, that she could drink the Sotah waters. Why? Because Yotzi, he divorces her. He could remarry her later. And therefore, since he's able to remarry her later, it's not really a usher marriage. He could still be defined as her husband. And therefore, when he remarries her, she drinks the Sotah waters. Then continues the Brisa, a young man, meaning a man who did not have any children, who married a barren woman, a woman who's not able to have children, who's kena, or an elderly woman who's already too old to have children, and he doesn't have another wife or any children, from before. So also, she does not drink the Sotah waters, and she doesn't get her ksuba money. She doesn't get her ksuba money from the kinoi stira, but he's not halachically legally allowed to be married to her. Legally, they are married. The marriage works, but they're not allowed to be married. And since the Torah says that it has to be her husband who's kosher to be married to her, she does not drink the Sotah waters. Rabbi Lezer, we already learned this before. Rabbi Lezer argues, and he says, she does drink the Sotah waters because it is a kosher marriage. She just has to marry a different woman and have children from her. Aval then continues the brisa. However, someone who warns his fiance, shemeres yavam shaloi, or his shemeres yavam, the woman that he's going to marry through yibum, mishiknasa nistera, and after he already married her, after the nisuin, after the second stage of marriage, she secluded herself with the guy. So either like a regular woman, oisha, so either she drinks the Sotah waters and exonerates herself, or she dies from it, or she decides I'm not drinking the water and she doesn't get her ksubah. Then continues the brisa, if his own wife is pregnant, or she is nursing a child. So again, they're totally halachically, legally, perfectly married. And therefore, if he warns her and she secludes herself, so either she drinks the Sotah waters, or if she doesn't want to drink the water, leave and don't get your ksuba. Then continues the brisa, a young man who doesn't have any children. Shanasa karos kena, who married a barren woman who can't have children. Or as kena, a woman who is too old to have children. And but he does have another wife, or he has children. So a guy who does have children, who marries these people, so it's a totally kosher marriage. Again, just like any kosher marriage, either she drinks the waters or she leaves without a ksuba. Then continues the brisa, Eishes mamzer lemamzer. If a mamzer marries a mamzeres, which means that a mamzer is a bastard, someone who was born from an illicit marriage that carries a chiyuv kores, someone who was born from that marriage who married another mamzer. So midai raisa, pasuk in Parshat Kiseitze says that a mamzer is not allowed to marry a regular Jew, but a mamzer is able to marry a mamzeres. Two people that were born from an illicit marriage are able to marry each other. However, the thing is that their children are also a mamzer. And then Ve'eshes Nasin Lanasin, or Nasin's wife who married a Nasin. A Nasin are these people from the Givanim that aren't able to marry into the regular Jewish community, but they're able to marry each other. Or Ve'eshes Ger, the wife of a Ger. Ve'evid Meshuchra, the wife of a freed slave. The islandess or an islandess. Here's the disproof. Says the Brisa that since all those cases are kosher marriages, mamzer to mamzeres, nasin to nesina, or the wife of a ger. Ger is allowed to marry a regular Jew as long as a ger is not allowed to marry a kohen, but a regular Jew is allowed to marry a ger. Or a freed slave. Once he's freed, by the way, an eved meshukra means that he was an eved knani. A non-Jewish slave. The way it works is that if a man buys a non-Jewish slave, so before he starts working for him, he has to go to bris. He has to get a bris. He has to go to mikvah. And while he's the slave, he's not a full-fledged Jew. He's not chayiv in all the mitzvahs. He's only chayiv in mitzvahs that women are chayiv in. But after he's freed, once he's an eved meshukrar, he goes to mikvah again and he becomes a full-fledged Jew. So an eved meshukrar is a total Jew, and therefore it's a kosher marriage, or an islandess, the Brisa said, which is a full-fledged marriage, and therefore either she drinks the waters or she doesn't get her ksuba. So Katani Mia, the Brisa taught, that's the end of the Brisa. The Brisa taught that an islandess is a kosher marriage and she does drink the Sotah water. So Tiyuf they did Rav Nachman. A disproof for Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman just said on Amud Beis Chafei that islandess does not drink the Sotah waters because it's not a kosher marriage. Rav Nachman says, no, it's not a question of It's actually a machlekes Tanoi whether an islandess is a kosher marriage or not. And I hold like this Tana who says what? The Tanya, we have a Brisa. Rav Shimon ben Elazar says that an islandess, this woman who has the characteristics of a female and a male, she does not drink the Sotah waters or get her ksuba money. That's who. That's Rav Nachman. Never like it says in the pasuk, "V'niksav in Israel Zara." This is exactly what Rav Nachman said. The pasuk says, pasuk Chavches, that when the Sotah goes out of the Beis Hamikdash, if she was innocent, she goes and conceives a child. That comes to exclude that an islandess is not included in Parsha Sotah, that she can't drink the Sotah waters. Misha Darka Lazria, only someone who is able to conceive. Yatzazu. So we exclude this case of an islandess in Darka Lazria because she's not able to even conceive a child. So now, good, beautiful. Rav Nachman answered for himself that it's a machlekes tanaim. I hold like the second brisa, Rav Shimon ben Elazar, that the Chachamim hold like the first brisa that we just brought. So now the question is, in the first brisa, Chachamim said that an islandess does drink the Sotah waters as a regular marriage. So now we have to find out what the Rabbanan hold. The pasuk v'niksav Zara teaches you. The Rabbanan have v'niksav Zara. My abdilei. What do they do with pasuk Chavches that says that she has to conceive a child after she goes out of the Beis Hamikdash? What's that coming to teach you? So miboilehu, it teaches you as look at the Tanya, like we learned in a brisa, v'niksav v'nizra Zara. She goes out of the Beis Hamikdash. She's exonerated and she goes and conceives. What's it coming to teach you? It's coming to teach you a different thing. It's coming to teach you like a if she's innocent, the waters don't curse her, they bless her. And what's it coming to tell you? That if she never had any children before Nifkeda, she's going to be remembered and she's going to have children. Rabbi Akiva, that's Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Rabbi Shmuel says to Rabbi Akiva, if you're going to tell me that the Sotah waters cause women that can't have children to have children, then very simple. A woman who can't have children, what should she do? She should go start secluding herself with a guy and get her husband to get suspicious, get her husband to warn her, become a Sotah, and then she knows that she's innocent. She'll be able to have a child. They have a cheat. They have a loophole. And a woman who's acting tznius, who's not secluding herself with another guy, is losing out because she could be using this loophole. So imke and matam lever. So Rabbi Shmuel says it can't be. What's it coming to teach you? What's V'niksav teaching you that sheim ha'isei ledas b'tzari ledas b'revach. It blesses her in a different way. If it was very hard for her to have children, if it was very painful, she's going to have an easier time having children. Nikkeves, if she was only having girls, yeledas charim, she'll have boys. Tsarim, if she was only giving birth to short children, Yeledes Aruchim, she'll have tall children. Shleirim, if they were unnaturally dark skinned, Yeledes Levanim, they'll be normal skin color, they'll be white. Now, good, beautiful. So we just explained everything. We explained the Chachamim, we explained the second brisa, we explained Rav Nachman. Everything fits according to Rav Nachman. An islandess does not drink the Sotah waters from V'niksav v'nizra Zara because she can't conceive. The Chachamim say that no, V'niksav v'nizra Zara teaches you that if she was having a hard time having children, she'll have better children. And islandess is able to drink the Sotah waters. Beautiful. So now the Gemara finished with that. Now we're gonna analyze the brisa that we just quoted. So we learned a very long brisa with a lot of different things going on, and we have to figure some things out. Eishes mamzer la mamzer. The brisa mentioned that if a mamzer marries a mamzeres, if two mamzerim marry each other, the mamzeres does drink the Sotah waters. So pshita, obviously, why wouldn't she? It's a kosher marriage, and any kosher marriage, the Torah says, if she's secluded and the warning and everything, she drinks the Sotah waters. Why would you think that they don't? So Mao, the tema, you would have thought that apushe psulin leifush. You might think that the Torah doesn't really want us to have more puzzle children. We don't want more children that are not able to marry into the Jewish community. We don't want to add more mamzerim in the Jewish nation, and therefore the Torah should say that if a mamzer and a mamzeres get into a bump in their marriage because of the Sotah thing, we shouldn't let them do the Sotah waters, because if they do the Sotah waters, it's going to cause them to have peace, and they'll make up, because we're going to see that the woman's innocent, and we'd just rather not have more mamzerim. So once they have this problem, let it stay like that. So Kamash Malan, the Brisa teaches you no. A mamzeres and a mamzer, they're included in the Sotah waters, in the Sotah process. The Torah wants to make shalom with everyone, and even if it means more mamzerim, we have the Sotah process for a mamzer and a mamzeres. Beautiful. Then we have in the Brisa, Eishes Ger v'Eved Meshukra v'Eilanis, we had the wife of a ger and the wife of a freed slave, that they are included in the Sotah waters. So again, the Gemara says, Pshita, Mao the Tema, obviously, why wouldn't they be? It's a kosher marriage. So Mao the Tema, you might think that Dabra b'nei Yisrael, since the Torah starts off the Parsha Sotah, Pasuk Yud Beis of Parakeh, you should speak to the children of Yisrael, the children of Yaakov Avinu, and say to them, Kach v'kach. So that comes to exclude maybe V'lei Gerim, not converts, which a ger is a convert. He's not the son of Yaakov Avinu. And also Eved Meshukra, a freed slave, is also a ger. So Kamash Malad teaches you know that Dabar B'nai Yisrael is not excluding gerim. So Ve'ema Hachinami. So the Gemara says, 1 second, how do you know? Maybe Dabar B'nai Yisrael Taka does exclude gerim. The Gemara says, Ve'amarta Ribuyahu. The pasuk says, Dabar B'nai Yisrael, speak to B'nai Yisrael. So maybe only children of actual Yisrael. Ve'amarta Aleim, and say to them, that extra, and say to them comes to include even gerim and people that converted to Judaism. Next, the Brisa continues, Eishes Kohen Shoisachulu, that the wife of a Kohen, oh no, sorry, this is not the Brisa. Now we're going back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah, in the beginning of the Perek, on Daf, Chavdal, it said like this, that the wife of a Kohen drinks the Sotah waters. So Eishes Kohen Shoisav Shita, the fact that a wife of a Kohen drinks the Sotah waters, obviously, why shouldn't she drink the Sotah waters? It's a kosher marriage. So Mao the Tema, you might think that Vihila Nispasa, Asura, Nispasa Muteres, Vizoyhel, Nispasa Asura, Emo, Loy Tishte, Kamash Malon. So what are we saying? We're saying like this. The Torah, in part of the Sotah, Parsha Sotah, the Torah says, in Pasuk Yud Gimel, that if a man slept with this girl outside of her marriage, outside of wedlock, V'nela me'ene isha, and her husband doesn't know about it. V'nistera, and she secluded herself. V'hinitma, and she is defiled. V'edein ba, there's no aid, meaning how we learned before, how there's one aid. V'hilein spas, and she wasn't forced. The Torah is trying to tell you that only if she wasn't forced, then she becomes a Sotah. Then she becomes usher to her husband. If she was forced, if she was raped, if the woman was raped, then she does not become usher to her husband. That's how it works. However, with Eishes Yisrael, with a regular marriage. However, the wife of a Kohen, even if she was raped, the wife of a Kohen is usher to her husband. So therefore, you might think that since this pasuk is talking specifically about an Eishes Yisrael, because it says V'hidlei Nispasa, that can't be talking about a Kohen, because a Kohen is only, even if she was raped, she's going to be usher to her husband. So since pasuk Gimel is talking about Eishes Yisrael, so maybe the whole parsha is talking about Eishes Yisrael. So says the Gemara, no, Kamash Malan, that just that pasuk, just pasuk Gimel is talking about an Eishes Yisrael. The rest of the parsha applies to everyone, even an Eishes Kohen, the wife of a Kohen. Beautiful. Then we had in the pasuk Umuteres L'Baila that after she drinks the Sotah waters, and she's exonerated, she is Mutaris L'Baila, she's allowed to be with her husband. So again, the Gemara says, Pshita, obviously, once she drank the Sotah waters, she is innocent. You know that she didn't cheat on her husband. So why should she be usher to her husband? So says the Gemara, Amar Ravuna said that Bimis Nabna. What's the Mishnah talking about? The Mishnah is talking about a case where she is deteriorating. We learned before that if the woman is taka guilty, however, she has a zchus, she has a merit of Torah, the merit of mitzvahs, whatever. We learned that before in Daf Chavez or Chafalef. So if maybe she has a zchus, and therefore she's misnabna, she deteriorates, she slowly dies. She doesn't die right away, but her body deteriorates until she dies up to 3 years later. So the Mishnah is talking about misnabna, that even a misnabna is mutter to be with her husband. The Gemara says that doesn't make any sense. Misnabna habat kol maya. How could a misnabna, a woman who's deteriorating, be with her husband? We know for sure that she's guilty. The water is sector, and we see that she's slowly deteriorating. We know that she's taka guilty. She just has a zchus. So why shouldn't she be allowed to be with her husband? She's not allowed to be with her husband. Says the Gemara, you're right. It's not talking about that she's deteriorating the way a regular Sotah dies. She's deteriorating in her other limbs, not in her stomach and her thighs, which is how the Sotah dies. It's in other limbs. She's just getting weaker. And you might think that the reason why she's getting weaker after she drank the Sotah waters, not in the way that a regular Sotah gets weaker in a different way, is because she cheated on her husband. And the reason why the waters did not check her the regular way is because she was raped. Ulagabe kohen asira, and for a kohen if the kohen's wife became a Sotah, and she's what's it called, and she's deteriorating, not in the way of the regular Sotah of her thigh collapsing and her stomach exploding, because then that would mean that she had a relation with the other guy on purpose. Maybe it's coming to tell you the waters are giving you a message that she was raped, and since she was raped, the kohen can't be with his wife. So Kamash Malan, the Gemara says, the Mishnah says no. Even if she's deteriorating in her other limbs, it's not a sign that she was raped, and she's allowed to be with her husband. Beautiful. Then the Mishnah said, Esha Saris Shoisa, the wife of a Saris. A Saris is a man who can't have any children for whatever reason. Either he was castrated or something happened to him that he can't have children. So Pshita, also, obviously, why wouldn't she be drinking the waters? It's a kosher marriage. Says the Gemara Ma'al Tema, you might have thought that Mibala de Ishech, the Torah says in Parsha Sotah, in Pasuk Chaf, that she was defiled and with another man besides for her husband. It has to be a husband who is able to have relations with her. It has to be that she had relations with another man besides for her husband. That means that her husband had to have been able to have relations with her. And this guy, the Saris, is not able to have relations with her. So who? So Kamash Malan says the Gemara, no. The Mishnah teaches you that even an Esha Saris, even though he can't have relations with her, Mival Ishich does not teach you that. It teaches you a different thing. Beautiful. Then continues the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that the man can warn his wife not to seclude herself with any of the arroyos, any of her relatives, which her relatives are not allowed to be with her anyway. And still, the Mishnah said the man is able to warn her not to be with them. So Pshita also, obviously, why not? Why wouldn't he be? Why can't he be suspicious that she's having an immoral relation with someone she's anyways not allowed to marry? Turning to Daf Chavav Beis. So Mal B'Tema, you might have thought that Nitma Shnei Pa'amim. Oh, here we get to the Nitma. The pasuk says in Parshas Sotah, pasuk Yud Gimel and Yud Dalet, it says she had a relation with her husband and she was defiled, or she had a relationship with another guy and she wasn't defiled. So the defiled. The Torah didn't have to use the word nitma 2 times. It could have said it in a different way. The reason why it uses the word defiled 2 times is coming to teach you that she becomes usher to 2 people. Echad lebal, echad leboil. It's coming to teach you that when a woman cheats on her husband, he becomes usher, yasi, both to her husband that she's already married to and to the guy that she was cheating with, to the adulterer, to the noyef. So when can you say that this part of nitma that she becomes usher to her husband and to the boil? That's only it's only when, because of her act now with this adulterer, she's becoming usher to him. If not for this act of adultery, if she would have got divorced from her husband, she would have been able to marry this guy. But now that she had a relation with him during her other marriage, so therefore she becomes usher to him through this act of cohabitation. But over here, in our case, where it's an erva, where the woman's secluding herself with someone she's anyways not allowed to marry, she's already usher to be with him. So therefore, this act of cohabitation with him is not making her usher on him. So maybe she's also excluded in the Parsha Sotah. Why? Because the Parsha Sotah says that it has to be that this act of relation of cohabitation is making her usher to this guy, but she was already usher to him before. So says the Gemara, Chamash Malon. So our Mishnah comes to teach you that no, he is able to what's it called? To warn her about her relatives. Now the pasuk, we can't learn that limud out of the pasuk. Beautiful. Then continues the Mishnah, that a man is not able to warn his wife not to seclude herself with a child or from someone who's not a man. So how come not a child? Very simple. The Torah says that another man had slept with her, and it has to be a man. A child is not a man. Someone who's under bar mitzvah. So now, then the Mishnah continued, he can't warn her against someone who's not a man. So the Gemara wants to know, what does this mean? Misha ina ish, someone who's not a man. What are you coming to say? If you want to say that it means that it's excluding a shachuf is someone who is sickly, that he's not able to have relations in a regular way. He's not able to maintain maintain an act of intimacy for a long enough time. So but that's not true. We can't say that our Mishnah is excluding a shachuf, this guy who's not able to maintain this act of intimacy. Why? Because Shmuel said that Shmuel said that clearly a shachuf you could warn not to seclude with a shachuf, and not only that, if a woman had a relation with a shachuf during her marriage, he makes her usher to eat truma. So first of all, if she was married to a kohen, if the wife cheats on him, she becomes usher to eat truma right away. And not only that, if a woman ever has, we're going to learn more details about this on this amud. If a woman ever has a relation that's usher to her, that she's not allowed to have, she has the status of a zoina, and therefore she is not allowed. Someone not a relation that she can't have. I take that back. If a woman ever has a relation with someone that technically she's not allowed to marry according to the Torah, she's not allowed to marry. So there, the Torah calls her a Zoina, and she is never allowed to eat truma, no matter what. Even if she's a Bas Kohen and she was never married, or if she marries a Kohen, she's not allowed to marry a Kohen, but she's never going to be able to eat truma again. So the Shmuel says that a shachov, if she has a relation with a shachov, he makes her not allowed to eat truma. So therefore, what we learn from here that a shachov is not the Eina Ish. Before the Gemara goes on to what Eina Ish means, the Gemara first is going to ask him what Shmuel said. Shmuel said that a shachov, first of all, you could warn him against your wife secluding with a shachov, and that a shachov makes the woman not be able to eat from ever. So first of all, mekanan al yadei pshita. Of course, you could warn your wife not to seclude herself with a shachov. Why not? So ma'al detema, you might think that the pasuk says v'shachaf ish oisa shichva zera, that a man has a relation with her, and the Torah uses the word shichva zera, that there was sperm, and the shachov is not able to emit sperm, and therefore this shachov is not able to ejaculate. So maybe the shachov is excluded from Parsha Sotah. So Kamash Malan, the Torah tells you that no, Shechva Zera is teaching you something else, and the shachov is able to be warned, and that's what Shmuel is coming to teach you. Upaisel b'truma, and a shachov, if she had a relation with a shachov, he makes her not be able to have truma again. Pshita. Why did Shmuel have to tell us that? Why wouldn't we think so? Ma'al the tema, you might think that the pasuk says in this week's Parshas Emor, v'lo yechal zaroi, that it says in the pasuk that a kohen is not able to defile his seed, and if he does that, if he defiles his seed, and the woman has a relation with someone that she's not allowed to marry, she is not allowed to eat truma. So Amar Rahman, it has to be dafka when there's seed. The islay zera, if he has seed, if he has sperm, lechalal, there she gets defiled. The leislay zera, but from a man who doesn't have sperm, which is a shachov, he's not able to emit sperm. So lechalal, so maybe he should not defile her. So Kamash Malan comes Shmuel to teach you that even a shachov can make her puzzle from eating truma. So now back to our question of what's misha ena ish. What does it mean someone who's not a man that our Mishnah was talking about? So our next option is a goy. If a woman has a relationship with a goy, the husband is not able to warn her not to have a relation with a goy. However, that's not true. The Amar of Rav Amnuna said that just like Shmuel, that an Ovid Kechavim a goy, you could warn your wife not to seclude herself with a goy, and Upaisel b'truma, if a woman has a relation with a goy, she's never able to eat truma, she's never able to marry a kohen. So therefore, we see that our Mishnah can't be talking about a goy. And before we go to the next option of what our Mishnah really means, we're going to ask on Rav Amnuna himself. Rav Amnuna said that you can warn your wife not to seclude herself with a goy, and that a goy makes her puzzle from eating truma. So mekanan al yodei, that you could warn your wife not to seclude herself with a goy, pshita, obviously. So Mao the Tema, so the Gemara says, why did Rav Amnuna have to tell me that you can warn her about a goy? Because Parsha Sotah, again, the problem that we had before, it says nitma shnei pamim. It says the word nitma that she is defiled 2 times. And what does that teach you? What did we learn? It's echad lebal, echad lebayil. It makes her usher, if she cheats on her husband now with this guy, it makes her usher side to her husband and to the guy that she had a relation with. And that's only if this act of cohabitation is making her usher to the boil, to the adulterer. But in the case of a goy, she was already usher to be with the goy. She's never allowed to be with the goy. So this act of cohabitation is not making her usher to the goy. So what do we need the nitma for? So you might think that a goy is excluded from Parsha Sotah, and you can't warn your wife not to be with the goy. So Kamash Malon comes and teaches you, Rav Amnuna, that even a goy, you can warn your wife not to be with a goy. And then Upaisel b'truma, Rav Amnuna said that a goy also makes her usher to be eating truma. So pshita, also obviously, she's a zoina. Ma'u the tema, you might think that Ubas Kohen Kisiya Li'ish Zar Amar Achmana Dvar Havoya in the Lav Baravoya Loi. So Kamash Malon, the puzzle. Also in Parsha Zemor, the Torah says that when a Bas Kohen marries in Ish Zar Kisiya, when she is married to an Ish Zar, to a foreign man, to someone who's not a Kohen, so there the Torah says he betrumas hakadosh v'lo seichel. She's not able to eat truma. Quiet. He betrumas hakadosh v'lo seichel. She's not able to eat truma if she marries a person who's not a kohen. So you might think that it's only who can make her not allowed to eat truma, someone that she's able to marry, because the Torah says kisiya when she marries a zar. However, a woman is not able to marry a goy. Nisuin by a goy doesn't work. If a goy tries to give a woman a ring and says you're my wife, it doesn't work. It's not halacha does not recognize that marriage. So therefore, you might think that since a goy is not able to marry this woman, so even if she has a relation with him, she will still be able to eat truma. So comes Rav Amnuna and tells you that no, even if she has a relation with a goy, she's not able to eat truma because of the isser of zayna. Beautiful. And how do we know this? With Rabbi Yochanan, from what Rabbi Yochanan said. Rabbi Yochanan said, Mishum Rabbi Shmuel, the name of Rabbi Shmuel. Minayin le'eved kechavim ve'eved shabo ala kohenes. How do we know that an eved kechavim, a goy, or an eved, a slave, someone who's an eved kanani, which means he's not a full-fledged Jew, he's still half goy, like we explained before. Shabo ala kohenes tate had a relation with either a kohenes, a kohen's daughter, or Val Alavia, or a Levi's daughter, Val Bas Yisrael, or a regular Jewish woman, Shep Salua, that they make her usher to eat truma forever. Shnemar, how do we know this? You might think that it's kisi elishzar, like we quoted before, that when she has to marry a ishzar, a foreign man, someone who's not a kohen, and she's not marrying him because you can't marry a goy. But then it says the Torah in the mamish, the next pasuk, also in Parsha Zemar, shenemar ubas kohen, when a kohen zar kisi almano grusha, when she's going to become a widow or a divorcee. So then, if she didn't have children, she goes back to her father's house and she could start eating truma again. So misha yeshle almanos v'gerishin. It comes to teach you that the pasuk before was only talking about someone who is able to make her a divorcee or a widow. So now we exclude Eved Kechavim, a goy, and an Eved, a slave, who are not able to make her into a divorcee or a widow because they can't marry her in the first place. And that comes to teach you that what? That the first pasuk that says that when a woman marries this guy, then it makes her Asur Ti Truma. That's only someone who can make her a divorcee or a widow, someone who's able to marry her. And Bechlal and Eved and Eved Kechavim are not even spoken about in this pasuk. And the fact that an Eved Kechavim and an Eved, that a goy and an eved make her asur titruma, we learn elsewhere, and you can't use these psukim as a proof that a goy cannot make her asur titruma. So now, beautiful. So now the Gemara. So we knocked out. We tried to say that misha enish, someone who's not a man, means what's it called? Means first we said that it means a shachuf, someone who's not able to have intimacy for a long enough time, or it means a goy who is not able to marry her. But we knocked out both of those things. So what does it mean that a woman that a man can't warn his wife not to seclude herself with someone who's not a man? Amar Papa says, this is the answer that's going to stand. He can't warn his wife not to be secluded with an animal. Why? Because there's no znus, there's no concept of znus, of this inappropriate behavior that the Torah talks about. She doesn't become a zayna from being with a behema, from being with an animal. She doesn't get a din of zayna from being with an animal. So now, beautiful. So that answer is going to stand. The man can't warn his wife in the Parsha Sotah not to seclude herself with a behemoth. Now, Amar le Rava mi Parzakya le Ravashi, Rava from Parzakya said to Ravashi, Minoha milsa dan Rabbanan. What's the source for the statement that the Chacham said that ein znos bebehemoth, that there's no din of znos when it comes to an animal? Siv, he brings a pasuk from Parshas Kisetse that says like this. You see where we are? We're daf chaf vav amud beis near Toisvis lemute behema, towards the bottom of the amud. We're like 2 lines under that. Pasuk says in Parshas Kisetse the following about karbanis. There's 2 karbanis that you can't bring. You can't bring an esnan zayna, which means the payment for a harlot, for a zayna, or a mechir kelev, the exchange for a dog. What does that mean? It means that if someone hires a prostitute and he pays her with an animal, he pays her with a sheep or whatever, that sheep can never be brought as a karban. Additionally, if a guy has a dog and he exchanges his dog for another animal, he wants to buy a dog, so he buys it with an animal, or he wants to buy a sheep, so he pays with a dog. If anyone exchanges a dog with an animal, that animal, obviously not the dog's not kosher, but the animal that he exchanged it with is never able to be a karban. Vitanya, and a brisa taught on that pasuk that esnan kelev u'mechir zayna mutarin. What happens if you use payment for a harlot, but when it comes, but with a esnan kelev, meaning that a person pays Yaakov Shimon and Elio. Please stop talking. If you want to talk, you can go outside. Esnan kelev. If someone exchanges to a woman, he pays a woman to have a relation with an animal, and he pays her with another animal. He pays a woman to have a relation with an animal, and he uses a dog, epis, to pay for that relation. So that animal is never so first of all, that animal, and not only that, sorry. I take that back, guys. Quiet, please. Esnan kelev, it means that if a man pays a woman to have a relation with a dog, with an animal, so that animal, or the payment for a zayna, the exchange for a zayna, which means that a man exchanged let's say a guy owned a slave, and that slave happened to be a zayna, she was a prostitute, and he sold his slave, this prostitute, and he got in return for her an animal. That animal, so what we're talking about now, so you might think that they also can't be brought up to the mizbeach as a karban. The esnan kelev, the payment for a woman to have a relation with a dog, or a mechir zayna, quiet Mikey, or a mechir zayna, or a payment for a slave who's a zayna, which is an animal. So mutarin, they could be brought as a karban. Shenemar, so they are allowed to be brought as a karban. Shenemar, how do we know this? Because it says in the pasuk clearly, Gam Shneim, the pasuk says that you can't bring the esnan zayna mechir kelev, the exchange for a zayna, or for the payment of a zayna, or the exchange for a dog. And it says, Kitayv Hashem Gam Shneim, it's disgusting for Hashem, Gam Shneim, both of those two things, Shnayim v'lei arba, it's only 2 things and not 4 things, which means that you can't include the esnan kelev and the mechir zayna in this part. And now, so what do we see from here, guys? The fact, guys, please stop talking. Could you stop talking, please? What do we see from this brisa? Okay. So we see from here that an esnan kelev, that if a man pays a woman to have a relation with a dog, and he uses that animal, it could be brought on the Mizbeach. What does that teach you? That teaches you that it's not znus. Because if it was znus, if a woman having a relation with a dog was called znus in the Torah, then that would mean that this animal is payment for znus. And payment for znus, payment for a zayna is never allowed to be brought up to the Mizbeach. The fact that it's not znus is the raya that having a relation with a dog in the Torah is not called znus. Beautiful. Or with any animal. Beautiful. So now, okay, Givaldik, that's all finished. We decided that Misha Ena Ish is someone who does not, who's not a man, means a woman with a dog, you can't warn your wife. So now, back to what we said before, that a shachuf, we said that a shachuf, you are able to warn her. We thought that it says that the Torah uses the word sperm over here in the woman cheating on her husband. There it says that the man warns his wife, and it used the word sperm. So we thought that that excludes a shachuf, and we said no. So now we have to figure out, why does the Torah say sperm? Why does it say shechva zera? So Miboile comes to teach you, look at Tanya like this brisa. Shechva zera, the Torah says sperm in the pasuk about the woman cheating on her husband. Prat l'davar acher. It's coming to exclude another thing. Davar acher, the other thing, is coming to say that the word sperm excludes davar acher. That davar acher, the other thing, the man is not able to warn his wife about. So what's davar acher? My davar acher. So Amar Rav Sheshes says prat l'shekine lo shalei kedarka. The Torah is coming to exclude in the word shechva zera that a man is not able to warn his wife not to have a relation with another man shalei kedarka. The difference between shalei kedarka means not in the proper way. Vaginal sex is bia kedarka, which is in the proper way. Shalei kedarka is anal sex. And if a man warns his wife that I don't want you to seclude with this guy for bia shalei kedarka, guys, quiet please. Shalei kedarka, that is not counted. So now Amar le Rava. What? If a man is not able to warn his wife to not seclude with another man for bia shalei kedarka.
But better.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, I'm saying like, and that's not like trying.
The Torah says shechva zera, and it's coming to exclude something, and it's coming to exclude
in that
sex and not the proper way.
She's cheating.
If she's cheating on him, if he can't warn his wife, we're going to refute this in the Gemara in a second. But he's coming to. The suggested answer now is that shechva zera comes to exclude that the man can't warn his wife to not have relations in an anal way with another person. That's what the Gemara is saying right now. We're going to disprove it in 1 second. Ready? So now, Amar le Rava says back to Rav Sheshes that can't be. Shalei kedarka, mishkevei. Amar le Rava shalei kedarka. You're coming to say that if it's bia shalei kedarka, the guy can't warn her. Mishkevei ishaksiv. Bia shalei kedarka, the Torah already calls bona fide bia. It's totally considered an act of intimacy. Where do we see that? In the pasuk of Parshas Achramos, it says that a man is not able to lay with another man, mishkevei isha, in the ways of intimacies of another woman. And the fact, so that teaches you 2 ways. First of all, a man can't have vaginal sex with another man. And also, mishkevei, it says the ways of intimacies with a woman. It has 2 intimacies. There's more than one kind of intimacy, which means that both kedarka and shalei kedarka by a woman, according to the Torah, are considered an act of intimacy. So it can't be saying that the shechva zera can't be excluding anal from the Parsha Sotah, because that, according to the Torah, is a bona fide act of intimacy. So Rava has to say, Prat l'shekinilosh derech evarim. What's the Torah saying shechva zera sperm for? And this makes more sense even that it's if the man warns his wife, I don't want you to lay naked with this guy. It's not pshat that they're having any relation, that they're just laying with their bodies touching each other. He says, I don't want you to do that. And here, the shechva zera and the pasuk where it says sperm is coming to exclude that case. The husband can't do that because that's not really, she's not cheating on him. I mean, she's cheating on him. It's definitely a terrible thing to do. But halachically, she didn't have a relation with another man. Okay. So now Amar le Abaye, so Abaye says to Rava, you can't say that either. Because derech evarim, if they're just lying with each other naked, pritzusa ba'almahi, it's just lewdness, it's just inappropriate behavior. Pritzusa, yeah.
It's considered cheating, like only if you sleep with them, or
we're gonna mamish the details at the end of this Amar. We'll get very nitty-gritty. So Amar le Abaye says to him, pritzusa ba'almahi. If they're just lying together naked, that's just stam inappropriate. But pritzusa miyasar rachmana, and did Hashem usher being inappropriate? So obviously Hashem did usher being inappropriate. A woman and a man are not allowed to lie together naked if they're not married. However, he's saying that how could just lying together naked make the woman usher on her husband? It can't be. It doesn't make any sense. So says Abaye, Elamar Abaye, what's the Torah coming to exclude by shechva zera by saying sperm? Prat l'shekine lo b'neshika. The husband can't warn his wife not to kiss. What does kissing mean? Kissing doesn't mean how we think of kissing. In halacha, kissing means that the male organ and the woman's female organ touch each other. That they're touching each other, that they're kissing each other. So there, the Torah excludes shechva zera, sperm, because there's actually no sperm, because their organs are touching each other. And the Torah says that if if the organs are touching each other, the man is not able to warn his wife about that, and that's what Shich Vazera comes to exclude. So now says the Gemara, that answer that the man can't warn his wife about the Avarim touching, that only works according to one opinion. Who says that Torah? So here, guys, stop talking. Mendel, stop talking. We're almost finished. We have 5 lines left. Over there, so we have we're bringing in a machlokes that we speak about Yevamis, daf nun gimel, I think. Where over there we have a machlokes between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan about what hara is. So halachically, there's 2 stages to the act of intimacy. Hara is the beginning of the act, and then there's Gmar Bia, which is the finishing of the act. So what does that mean? So according to Shmuel, hara is just when they touch. When the 2 Avarim touch, that's hara. That's the beginning of the act of intimacy. And it's counted as bona fide intimacy. Hara, according to the Torah, is full intimacy, which means that if a woman did hara with someone that she's not allowed to, she'll get stoned for it, and the man will also. Meaning that hara is considered full-on intimacy, according to Shmuel, and hara just means that they're Avarim touch. Gmar Bia is when the male organ actually enters the female. That's according to Shmuel. Rabbi Yochanan argues. Rabbi Yochanan says that no, Nishika is not counted as anything. Hara is when the beginning, the top of his organ, the first part of it, which is a separate, don't come in, is when the first section of the man's male organ goes into the woman, and Gmar Bia is when the whole thing goes in. So now that's the machlekes of Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan in Maseches Yevamos. So now, you saying that Shich Vazera comes to exclude the 2 Avarim touching, that only works according to who? According to Shmuel, because according to Shmuel, when the 2 Avarim touch, it's actually something. According to Shmuel, that's a bona fide act of intimacy. Forget. That only works according to the opinion that says that hara, that the beginning of intimacy is when the atara, when the tip of the person's male organ goes into the woman, that is counted as hara, and that's counted as an act of intimacy. Avol nishika, which is Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, but nishika, just the Avarim touching, v'lo klumi, it's not counted as anything. And then what? So why does that work? Because hainu da'asikra. That's why we need a pasuk l'motei nishika to tell you that the Avarim, that the 2 organs are not allowed to touch each other. But according to the opinion of Amar that said that hara, the beginning of the act of intimacy itself, Shmuel's opinion that says that when the 2 organs touch each other, that's already counted as a full act of intimacy. So the pasuk can't exclude that, because for sure, according to Shmuel, that'll be included in Parsha Sotah, because just the 2 Avarim touching, according to Shmuel, is a full act of intimacy, right? So Michael, so how do we say? So what's Shich Vazera coming to exclude? So the Olam, so says the Gemara. So you're right. Let's backtrack. Really, what Shich Vazera comes to exclude, the pasuk mentioning sperm comes to exclude the Shekinah la derech Avarim, when the man is warning his wife not to lie naked with this guy. However, so we asked before, how could the Torah ask her on her husband for just laying naked with the guy? So says the Gemara, because you might think that that the Parsha Sotah is all dependent on the husband. If the husband doesn't want his wife doing a certain thing, the husband can say, "I don't want you to do that." And if she does that, it's all with what the husband is uncomfortable with.
If she says that,
if the husband, no, Parsha Sotah, that's the husband. If the husband is uncomfortable with it, so the wife's not allowed to do that. And if she does, then she'll become a Sotah. So then obviously, if the husband is warning her not to lie naked with this guy, he cares about that. So Kamash Malon comes to Torah to tell you that no, the husband is that it's not totally on the husband, that it's not based on what the husband perceives as what he's uncomfortable with. It's based on what the Torah is uncomfortable with. And according to the Torah, if they're laying together naked, she's not going to become usher on her husband. So the Shich Vazera has to we need a pasuk to come to exclude that. Beautiful. We're going to continue on Monday with Daf Chav Zayin.